I believed my husband's lies for years until I saw pictures of him with my cousin on his phone. I'm writing this because I need someone, anyone, to know what I did. Not for sympathy. I don't deserve that. I need this to exist somewhere outside my head, because the weight of it is crushing me. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I destroyed everything, and I did it with my eyes wide open. It started 3 years into my marriage to Daniel. 3 good years. Not perfect but good. He worked long hours as a project manager. I was a teacher. We had a routine. Dinner at 7, Netflix on weekends. Talks about starting a family soon. Normoring. Maybe, but safe. My cousin Melissa came to stay with us last March. She'd just gone through a bad breakup and needed somewhere to crash for a few weeks. Daniel and I had the space. It seemed like the right thing to do. Family helps family, right? She was always beautiful. The kind of beautiful that turns heads in grocery stores. Long dark hair, green eyes, the kind of smile that made feel like we're the only person in the room. I'd always been a little jealous of her growing, but I'd made peace with it. I had Daniel. I didn't need to be the prettiest girl anymore. The first week was fine. She kept to herself mostly, helped with dishes, stayed in the guest room. Daniel was polite to her. Normal brother-in-law stuff. I noticed he laughed at her jokes more than usual, but I told I was being paranoid. Week 2. I started noticing small things. The way she'd touch his arm when she talked. How she'd wear those tiny pajama shorts when she knew he'd be in the kitchen for his morning coffee. I mentioned it to Daniel once, casually, and he laughed it off. She's your cousin. Don't be weird. So I swallowed it. Pushed it down. Told I was being insecure. Week 3. I came home early from work. I had a migraine and the school nurse sent me home. I walked into my house, my home, and heard laughter coming from upstairs. Not just any laughter. The kind that sounds like secrets. I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a full minute, frozen. Then I went. They were in our bedroom. Sitting on our bed. Her laptop was open between them. And they were looking at something. Their shoulders touching. When I opened the door, they both jumped like I'd caught them doing something wrong. Hey, Daniel said. Too quickly. Home early. Melissa smiled at me. That same warm smile she'd been giving me my whole. We were just looking at job postings for me. Daniel's been helping. I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to believe it so badly. On our bed, I asked. The guest room desk is covered in my stuff. Melissa said, shrugging. Sorry, we can move. I told them it was fine. Went downstairs. Took 3 ibuprofen and tried to convince I was crazy. But I wasn't crazy. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched them. Really watched them. The way they'd go quiet when I entered a room. How Daniel started coming home later, saying he'd been helping Melissa with her resume at a coffee shop. The way she'd look at him when she thought I wasn't watching. I should have confronted them. Should have kicked her out. Should have demanded the truth from my husband. Instead, I did something worse. I went out with my work friend Stephanie one Friday night. Daniel said he was tired, staying in. Melissa had plans with an old friend. Or so she said. Stephanie and I went to this bar downtown, nothing fancy. Just needed to get out of my head. That's where I met Ryan. He was a bartender. Tall, tattooed arms, the kind of guy who knew exactly how attractive he was. He flirted with me all night. Asked if my husband knew I had a smile like that. I should have shut it down. Should have told him I was married and walked away. I didn't. I flirted back. I let him pour me drinks I didn't pay for. I laughed at jokes that weren't funny. And when Stephanie went to the bathroom, I gave him my number. I told it was harmless. Just an ego boost. I wasn't going to do anything. That was lie number 1. Ryan texted me the next day. Something casual. Hey beautiful, great meeting last night. I texted back. Just a simple, 2. But I deleted the message thread before Daniel could see. Lie number 2. Over the next week, Ryan and I texted constantly. Nothing explicit at first. Just conversation. He asked about my day. Remembered things I told him. Made me feel seen in a way Daniel hadn't in months. I told I could stop whenever I wanted. Lie number 3. Melissa moved out 2 weeks later. She'd found a place across town. The night she left, I saw her hug Daniel goodbye in the driveway. It lasted too long. When he came back inside, he seemed sad. I didn't ask why. Instead, I told Daniel I was going out with Stephanie again that Friday. He didn't question it, barely looked from his phone. I went to meet Ryan. We met at a different bar. Darker. I wore a dress I hadn't worn since before I got married. Red, tight. I looked in the car mirror before I went in and barely recognized the woman staring back. Ryan me in the parking lot before we even got drinks. I him back. We ended at his apartment. I won't describe what happened there, because this isn't about the details. This is about the choice. And I chose it. Every second of it. Nobody forced me. I wasn't. I knew exactly what I was doing. I cheated on my husband. Because I wanted to feel wanted. Because I was scared he wanted someone else. Because I was angry and too much of a coward to just ask him the truth. I went home at midnight. Daniel was asleep. I showered until my skin turned red, got into bed beside him, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. It happened 3 more times over the next month. 3 more nights I lied about where I was going. 3 more times I let Ryan touch me, while my wedding ring sat in my purse. I told it was revenge. That I deserved this after what Daniel and Melissa had probably done. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was doing this because I wanted to. Because it made me feel powerful. Because I was broken and selfish, and too weak to face my real problems. The 4th time I was supposed to meet Ryan, I couldn't do it. I sat in my car outside his building for 20 minutes. Then drove home. When I got there, Daniel was waiting in the living room. Awake. Alert. We need to talk, he said. My heart stopped. He knew. Somehow, he knew. I stood in the doorway, keys still in my hand, every muscle in my body locked. This was it. My marriage was about to, and I'd be the one holding the match. Sit down, Daniel said. His voice wasn't angry. It was worse. It was tired. I sat on the opposite end of the couch, as far from him as possible. My phone buzzed in my purse. Probably Ryan asking where I was. I ignored it. I need to tell something. Daniel said, looking at his hands. And I need to just listen. My throat closed. He was going to tell me about Melissa. He was going to confess. And then I'd have to confess. And everything would. Melissa called me tonight. He started. Of course. She did. She told me she's been struggling. With depression, anxiety. The whole thing. When she stayed here, she was in a really dark place. He finally looked at me. She said she could tell, thought something was going on between us. She wanted me to tell the truth. I couldn't breathe. There was never anything between us. Daniel continued. Not even close. She came to me for help finding a therapist. That's what we were doing on the laptop that day. Looking at providers covered by her insurance. The coffee shop meetings were her asking advice about whether to try medication. She was embarrassed. Didn't want to worry about her. Each word hit me like a physical. I should have just told, he said, rubbing his face. But she asked me not to. Said she wasn't ready for the whole family to know. And I thought I was helping by respecting her privacy. He laughed. But it was hollow. Right? My wife thought I was cheating and I was just trying to be a good cousin. The room started spinning. Are okay? Daniel asked. Looked pale. I wasn't okay. I would never be okay again. Because while my husband was helping my cousin find mental health resources, I was in another man's bed. While Daniel was being kind and honorable, I was deleting text messages and lying about where I spent my Friday nights. While I'd convinced my jealousy was justified, I was becoming exactly the kind of person I'd always promised I'd never be. I'm fine. I whispered. Just relieved. He smiled. Actually smiled, reached across the couch and took my hand. I'm sorry I made worry, I love. Know that, right? I know. I went to bed that night and cried silently while Daniel slept beside me, his arm draped over my waist like always, like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't just destroyed everything we had. I ended things with Ryan the next day. Sent him a text saying I couldn't see him anymore, blocked his number before he could respond. Deleted every message we'd ever sent. Erased him from my phone like he'd never existed. But I couldn't erase what I'd done. The guilt ate at me. Every morning I woke next to Daniel, every time he me goodbye before work, every I love felt like swallowing glass. He didn't know. He went about his completely unaware that his wife had betrayed him in the worst possible way. I told I'd never tell him. That it would only him. That some secrets were better buried. But secrets have a way of clawing their way to the surface. 2 months later, Daniel and I went to a work party for his company. I didn't want to go. Hadn't been sleeping well. Had lost weight, looked like a ghost of, but he insisted. Said it would be good for me to get out. The party was at some fancy hotel downtown. Open bar, catered food, the works. I stuck close to Daniel all night, playing the role of the supportive wife. Smiling. Making small talk. Pretending I was a person worthy of being there. Then I saw him. Ryan. He was across the room. Wearing a server's uniform, carrying a tray of champagne glasses. Our eyes met. His face showed surprise, then recognition, then something that made my run cold. Interest. He started walking toward us. I grabbed Daniel's arm. I need some air. Okay? He asked concerned. Just hot. I'll be right back. I practically ran to the bathroom, locked in a stall, and tried not to throw. What were the odds? What were the actual odds that Ryan would be working this specific party? I stayed in there for 15 minutes. When I finally came out, I checked the ballroom carefully before going back in. Didn't see Ryan anywhere. Maybe he'd left. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. I found Daniel talking to his boss near the bar. Joined the conversation. Tried to act normal. Then Ryan appeared beside us with a tray of drinks. Champagne. He offered, looking directly at me. No thanks, I said quickly. I'll take one, Daniel said, grabbing a glass. He smiled at Ryan. Thanks, man. No problem, Ryan said. Then, still looking at me, have we met before? Look really familiar. My heart stopped. I don't think so, I said. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen somewhere. He was playing with me. I could see it in his eyes. Do come downtown much? Not really. I managed. Daniel glanced between us, curious. Small world if have. My wife doesn't get out much. He said it affectionately, squeezed my shoulder. Ryan smiled. Must be thinking of someone else. Have one of those faces, I guess. He walked away. I excused again, went back to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the person staring back. Hollow eyes. Tight mouth. The face of someone drowning. We left the party an hour later. Daniel was in a good mood. Buzzed from champagne and successful networking. I sat silently in the passenger seat while he drove, staring out the window at the passing lights. We're quiet tonight, he said, feeling all right. Just tired. He reached over and squeezed my hand. When we get home, let's talk about starting that family. I think we're ready. What do you think? I thought I was going to be sick. Yeah, I heard say. Let's talk about it. But we never got the chance. When we pulled into our driveway, Melissa's car was parked on the street. She was sitting on our porch steps, hugging her knees, mascara streaked down her face. Daniel parked and we both got out. Mel, what's wrong? She looked up, and I saw something in her expression that made my stomach drop. Not sadness. Not the depression Daniel had mentioned. Guilt. I'm so sorry, she said, standing. I tried not to come. I tried to just let it go. But I can't. I can't keep this from Pot. Keep what? Daniel asked, walking toward her. She looked at me. I saw, the world tilted. 2 months ago, I was downtown meeting a friend at that bar on 5th Street. Her voice cracked. I saw come in. Saw with that guy, the bartender. She was crying now. I followed when left. I saw get in his car. I saw go to his apartment. Daniel turned to look at me. Confusion on his face. What is she talking about? I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Couldn't do anything but stand there while my entire collapsed. I'm sorry, Melissa said again, looking at Daniel now. I've been trying to convince I didn't see what I saw. That it was someone else. But tonight she texted me asking if I was okay, and I just couldn't lie anymore. He deserves to know. Know what? Daniel's voice was rising. Someone tell me what's going on. Melissa looked at me one more time. Gave me a chance to say it. I said nothing. She cheated on, Melissa said quietly. I'm so sorry, Daniel. She cheated on. The look on my husband's face in that moment will haunt me until the day It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was incomprehension, like she'd just spoken a language he didn't understand. That's not true, he said, looking at me. Waiting for me to deny it. Needing me to deny it, right? Tell her she's wrong? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. And in that silence, my husband finally understood. Daniel didn't yell. Didn't scream. Didn't throw anything or slam doors. He just stared at me for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Then turned and walked into the house. I heard his footsteps going upstairs. Heard our bedroom door close with a soft click that sounded louder than any slam ever could. Melissa was still standing on the porch, crying. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to tell him, but I couldn't keep lying, and I just thought should know that someone knew, and maybe tell him, but didn't, and I couldn't live with and. Get out? I said. What? Get out of here. Go home. Leave. She looked like I'd slapped her. But she got in her car and drove away. I stood in the driveway alone for a long time. Neighbors' houses were dark. The street was quiet, normal. Like the world hadn't just ended. Finally, I went inside. Daniel had locked the bedroom door. I could hear drawers opening and closing. I knocked. Daniel, please. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain. His voice was flat. Empty. Did it, or didn't? The words came out as a whisper. But I can explain why. I don't care why. More sounds of drawers. A suitcase zipper. We're going. Panic rose in my throat. My brothers. Please don't leave. Please, we can talk about this. We can fix this. The door opened. Daniel stood there with a duffel bag over his shoulder. His face completely blank. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Like the past 6 years had been erased in an instant. How many times? He asked. I couldn't answer. How many times did sleep with him? 4. I whispered. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or disgust. While I was here. While I was sleeping in our bed thinking my wife was out with her friend. Yes. He nodded slowly. Did use protection. The question caught me off guard. What? Did? Use. Protections? Always. Good. He moved past me toward the stairs. That's one less thing to worry about. I followed him down. Daniel, please. I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. But I love so much. It meant nothing. He stopped at the front door. Turned to look at me one last time. If it meant nothing, then destroyed our marriage for nothing. I'm not sure which is worse. Then he left. I called him 30 times that night. He didn't answer. Sent him dozens of texts. No response. Finally, around 3 in the morning, I got a single message back. Talk to my lawyer. I didn't sleep. Sat on the couch in the dark, scrolling through photos on my phone. Our wedding day. Honeymoon in Mexico. Last Christmas, both of us laughing in front of the tree. All these moments that used to mean everything, now just evidence of what I'd thrown away. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Couldn't face my students. Couldn't pretend to be a functioning human being. Stephanie texted me around noon. Daniel's brother just called my husband, asking if the nights were with me were real. I had to tell him the truth. I'm sorry. What the happened? I didn't respond. By evening, I'd received texts from 3 different friends. All saying basically the same thing. They'd heard. They couldn't believe it. They were disappointed. One of them, Sarah, added, I introduced too. I stood at your wedding. How could do this to him? I had no answer. The next week was a blur. Daniel wouldn't see me, wouldn't take my calls. His lawyer sent paperwork, divorce papers. He wanted it done quickly, no contest, no fighting over assets. Just an end. I signed them. My mother called. Melissa told me what happened. She's devastated. She feels responsible. She should, I said bitterly. No. My mother's voice was sharp. Should. Did this. Don't dare blame her for having a conscience. Even my own mother was taking his side. Everyone knows. She continued. Your aunt, your cousins, everyone. I've never been so ashamed. She hung. I stopped answering the phone after that. Work became unbearable. I'd taken a week off, but when I came back, the whispers followed me everywhere. Teachers who used to eat lunch with me suddenly had other plans. Parents requested their kids be moved to different classes. The principal called me into her office. I'm getting complaints, she said gently. Parents are concerned about having someone with your situation, teaching their children. My personal has nothing to do with my job. I agree. Legally, there's nothing I can do. But the school board is putting pressure on me. They're worried about optics. She looked genuinely sorry. Maybe it would be better if considered a transfer. Fresh start somewhere else. I didn't transfer, I quit. What was the point? Everyone knew. Everyone judged. I couldn't escape it. The divorce was finalized 3 months after that night on the porch. I didn't contest anything. Didn't ask for alimony. Didn't for the house even though my name was on it too. I just wanted it over. Daniel got remarried last month. I know because Stephanie told me, even though I'd asked her not to tell me anything about him ever again. She said I deserved to know. He married someone from his office. Someone he'd worked with for years but apparently only started dating after we separated. They're expecting a baby in the spring. The family he wanted to have with me, he's having with someone else. I moved across the state. Got a job at a different school district, where nobody knows my name. I live in a small apartment with beige walls and no pictures hung. Because I don't have any I want to look at. I don't date. Can't imagine ever trusting with another person again. Can't imagine anyone wanting me if they knew what I'd done. Sometimes I see couples at grocery stores or restaurants. Watch them laugh together, hold hands, share food. And I think about what I had, what I destroyed. All because I was too insecure to communicate. Too proud to ask for help. Too selfish to think about anyone but, I've learned from it. That I'm different now. Better. But the truth is, I'm just alone. And loneliness doesn't equal growth. It's just punishment without the possibility of parole. Melissa and I haven't spoken since that night. She sent me an email 6 months ago apologizing again, saying she hopes I've found peace. I never responded. Part of me still hates her for telling, but most of me knows she did the right thing. Daniel deserved to know. He deserved the truth. He deserved better than me. I saw Ryan once. About a year after everything fell apart. I was visiting the city for a doctor's appointment, and stopped at a coffee shop. He was there with a woman, laughing, his hand on her lower back. He saw me. Our eyes met. He didn't recognize me. I'd meant so little to him that he couldn't even remember my face. That's when it really hit me. I'd destroyed my marriage, lost my husband, ruined my reputation, isolated from my family, and given my career. And the person I'd done it all for didn't even remember who I was. People ask me sometimes, the few who know my story, if I think about reaching out to Daniel. Apologizing properly. Asking for forgiveness. I don't. Not because I don't want to. But because that would be for me. To ease my guilt. To make feel better. And I don't deserve to feel better. He's moved on. Built anew. He's going to be a father. He gets to wake every morning next to someone who didn't betray him. Someone who chose him every single day. I had that. I was that person. And I chose to become someone else. So I live with it. The shame. The regret. The knowledge that I'm the villain in someone else's love story. That somewhere out there, Daniel probably tells his new wife about his first marriage, About the woman who cheated on him. And she probably holds him a little tighter and promises she'd never do that. And she won't. Because most people don't. Most people, when faced with doubt or insecurity or temptation, choose to talk about it. Choose to work on their relationship. Choose their partner. I chose, and wasn't worth choosing. I write this not because I want sympathy. I don't deserve it. I write it because I see women online every day, justifying their wandering eyes, calling it just flirting, saying they deserve to feel wanted, making excuses for emotional affairs that are one step away from physical ones. I said those things, I made those excuses, and it cost me everything. There's no happy ending here. No redemption arc. No lesson learned that makes any of it okay. Just a woman living in a small apartment in a town where nobody knows her name, teaching other people's children, and coming home to silence. If you're reading this, and are standing where I stood, looking at someone who isn't your partner and wondering, what if? Let me save the trouble. The answer is nothing. Get nothing. Lose everything. And get nothing in return. I believed I could have it both ways until I realized I never really had anything at all.